Welcome to the Back in Time podcast with Kyle and JD, where every week we jump into our DeLorean, cruise to 88 miles per hour, and travel back in time to review our favorite films. Every week we talk about current cinema, the latest trailers, and we pick a new favorite film every single episode.
But I need a nuclear reaction to generate the 1.21 gigawatts of electricity. 1.21 gigawatts!
Don't say that! Never say that! Goonies never say die!
We're the best, we're the beautiful, we're the only Ghostbusters.
Now, here's your host, Kyle Autry, and his co-host, JD. Hello and welcome to the Back in Time podcast. This is Kyle Autry. I'm normally joined by my co-host Justin DeSandro, but he has the week off, and we will have a special guest, Tim Burton, who's going to be joining me during the review to break down Remember the Titans. So welcome to episode 16, and we appreciate all your support through the first 15 episodes. Last week, we broke down Wayne's World. That was a fun one to get into, a movie that we had not saw in a long time, and we appreciate all the kind feedback online and everybody on our social media. If you're new to the show, we are online at @BackInTimePod on Twitter and Instagram, and we're on Facebook at facebook.com/BackInTimePod, and online at backintimepod.wordpress.com. So today, the poll topic has ended, and our first episode in December, it looks like we're going to be reviewing Kindergarten Cop with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So it was a close poll. We had a couple of his films that were very close to winning. Last Action Hero actually had the lead for most of the poll topic contest, but Kindergarten Cop had some legs on it and came in late here to take the victory. So we will be talking about Kindergarten Cop and breaking that down probably the first or second week of December. So that'll be coming. Next episode, we're going to be back in, I think we're going to go back into the horror genre, and we'll be looking at doing probably a 90s slasher movie is what we've been talking about. And we may have another special guest for that episode as well. But yeah, looking forward to jumping into Remember the Titans here. If you haven't already, we do have the teaser trailer breakdown already up for Remember the Titans on iTunes. Remember to hit the download button on that episode, give it a listen. But that is the episode where we break down the original trailer, and we also break down the box office numbers and talk about how successful Remember the Titans was. So if you want the condensed version, I can give it to you now. Remember the Titans did really well, and it went on to recoup 4 times the budget of the movie, which was $30 million, and they grossed worldwide over $130 million. So this is a very successful, albeit a small Disney movie. I think they actually co-produce on this one with Buena Vista and Jerry Bruckheimer. But yeah, $30 million, and you get 130 something back. I mean, that's a pretty good day at the office here for the producers of the movie. So as we normally do, let's jump in and talk some current cinema and get into the box office here. So last weekend we had the debut of Coco, which is a kid-friendly movie. They took number 1 at the box office, knocking Justice League off of the spot after just 1 week, bringing in $50.8 million opening weekend. Justice League dropped to number 2, bringing in $41.1 million, which is a pretty big drop from their first week of over $90 million. So they went down by more than 50%. Wonder, which I have a feeling could be the little engine that could here over the next several weeks leading into Christmas season, they stayed at number 3 and brought in $22.7 million. Not much of a drop off at all from the first weekend, which I think they did $25 million, somewhere in that ballpark. So Wonder has already crossed the $50 million mark, which is fantastic. I actually saw the movie yesterday afternoon with my wife. I have to say that movie really surprised me. It's very good. There's a little bit of everything in there. You've got, some conflict. You have a lot of moments of laughter. It's very funny at times. It's also very sad at times. And of course, there's the happy ending at the end where I won't give away any spoilers, but it's one of those almost stand up and cheer endings to the movie. And I just thought it was well done. I know my wife, it was getting a little dusty in there in the theater for a couple people, us included, at certain parts. So it's definitely worth checking out. One thing that we did, and we're not a sponsor of theirs, so I have no reason to plug this otherwise, but we both signed up for MoviePass.com, which is essentially a pay per month, unlimited movie-going experience where you can go see as many movies as you want, one a day, all the way throughout the entire month, and you pay $10. So it's really, I kind of thought it would be bullcrap and there would be a lot of hurdles and stuff, but it's as simple as you get on your app, you pick the time you want to go, you walk up, you wipe your card, and they hand you a ticket. And I know my wife's used it 4 or 5 times already just in the first couple weeks. So normally that would cost us $40 or $50, but we still have all of December, and there's so many good movies coming out. So we should talk about this weekend. There's going to be a couple of movies coming out. One that I'm really excited about, which is The Disaster Artist, starring James Franco, Seth Rogen, Dave Franco, among others. This is actually directed by James Franco as well. And this is based off of the 2003 cult film, The Room, which, if you've never done any research on The Room, it's considered the best, worst movie of all time. And what's crazy about it is I think in theaters it grossed only a couple $1,000s, like $1,200, $1,600. They spent $6 million. The director, Tommy Wiseau, out of his own money to keep this in theaters for 2 weeks. He paid to do all that. And it's now found an audience for the last 14 years. And it continues to play every single month in theaters all across America. I know it's big in London at I think it's the Prince Harry or Prince William theater. They play that once a month. And go in, do your research. I listened to an interview with Seth Rogen, who also, I believe, helped write the script for this movie. And he's one of the co-stars. And he had mentioned that you don't really need to see The Room to enjoy The Disaster Artist. So, if anything, after you see The Disaster Artist, you're going to want to try and get your hands on a copy of The Room, which is hard to come by. There's only a few on Amazon, and it's a movie that is also owned by Tommy Wiseau, and he keeps very tight grips on it. So you're not going to find this on Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime or HBO or any of those different streaming services. You have to actually buy the DVD or Blu-ray to watch this movie, or find a theater and go watch it with a whole group of people, which, from what I've done my research in, is probably the best way to experience the movie. So I'm going to be looking into that, and if I find anything, I'll definitely share it right here on the podcast. So Disaster Artist is actually the only wide release opening on December 1st. Everything else is going to be limited. There's a new Guillermo del Toro film coming out only in New York City called The Shape of Water. Wonder Wheel, which is a Woody Allen movie starring Jim Belushi, Juno Temple, Justin Timberlake, and Kate Winslet. That's also going to be a limited release. That looks really cool. It's about a movie on Coney Island in the 1950s. A lifeguard tells the story of a middle-aged carousel operator and his beleaguered wife. So trailer looked kind of cool for it. And then there's also The Tribe of Palo Verde, starring Maika Monroe and Cody Fern and Jennifer Garner. And that's also going to be a limited release. So not a lot coming out the first week of December. But as we kind of look ahead here, December 8th, we're going to get The Shape of Water, should get a full release at that point. And then we've got Just Just Getting Started, which stars Morgan Freeman, Tommy Lee Jones, Rene Russo. That's going to come out. And then we'll get into Star Wars coming up here in just a few weeks, followed by Jumanji, Pitch Perfect 3, one that my wife is really excited about, The Greatest Showman with Hugh Jackman. That's going to come out at the end of the month in December. So a lot of good things on the horizon here. It's going to be a busy Christmas holiday here at the theater, and we'll be reviewing these as many as we can as we watch them and kind of keeping everybody up to date. But I think that'll kind of wrap it up for box office here. I'm going to take a quick break, and we'll be back on the other side to get into some intro to Remember the Titans.
Wait a minute, what are you doing, Doc? I need fuel.
I want to thank you again for hitting the download button on today's podcast. That is the best way to help support this show, is click that little button. It doesn't cost you a single cent, but it does help us with continuing to grow the podcast and getting new listeners every week so we can track things a little bit better. Also, down the road, it'll help us with picking up sponsors once this show continues to grow and get bigger. The other thing that you can do, which also doesn't cost you anything but a couple minutes of your time, is go on to iTunes, find our show, rate us 5 stars, and leave us a review and tell people what you love about the show. Now, if you don't love it, you can just do absolutely nothing, because rating us poorly would only hurt the show. So if we could keep it positive, that would be awesome. You can also go to our website, backintimepod.wordpress.com. You can find all things Back in Time Podcast, including every single episode, our blog. There's a couple articles in there that we've written that are not about podcasts that we've done. We also have our Amazon store posted on there, so if there's something you're looking for Christmas, any of the movies that we've done, we have links to the Blu-ray and DVDs for those films, including like a lot of, if they have t-shirts or hoodies, or if there's like toys that come with it, like for example, Jurassic Park and Batman, we had some of that stuff on there. This doesn't cost you anything extra, but it does help support the show. So we are an Amazon affiliate, and that is a way to help give back and keep this podcast going. Now, we're going to come back on the other side and listen to this short clip from Remember the Titans, and we will be back with some intro to Remember the Titans.
Sunshine. Hey man, all that rubbing ain't gonna make them golden locks go back no faster now, you know that, right? Sunshine, 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 sunshine.
That's cool. I can dig it. Come on now. Don't let me hanging, bro. Come on.
Hey, you got a little soul power. He called me bro.
Such a funny part of the movie there was Sunshine and cutting his hair, but just giving it right back to Petey there and not letting him, tease him about his haircut. I love that part. So we're going to get in some intro to Remember the Titans here, and then I'm going to be joined by my buddy Tim here in just a few minutes. So Remember the Titans is a 2000 America sports film produced by Jerry Bruckheimer and directed by Boaz Yakin. The screenplay, written by Gregory Allen Howard, is based off of the true story of African-American coach Herman Moon, portrayed by Denzel Washington, and his attempt to integrate the T.C. Williams High School football team in Alexandria, Virginia in 1971. Will Patton portrays Bill Yost, Ben Boone's assistant coach. Real-life athletes Gary Bertier and Julius Campbell are portrayed by Ryan Hurst and Wood Harris, respectively. The film was co-produced by Walt Disney Pictures and Jerry Bruckheimer Films, and released by Buena Vista Pictures on September 29, 2000. The film soundtrack, released by Walt Disney Records, it features songs by several recording artists, including Creedence Clearwater Revival, The Hollies, Marvin Gaye, James Taylor, The Temptations, and Cat Stevens. Remember the Titans had a budget of $30 million and premiered in theaters nationwide on September 29, 2000, and grossed an estimated $115.6 million in the U.S. and $136 $6.7 million worldwide. So this was a big success for all of those involved between Walt Disney, Jerry Bruckheimer, and Buena Vista. The filming locations for the motion picture included Atlanta, Georgia, including Henry Grady High School, Druid Hills High School, which were both filled in for, which both filled in for T.C. Williams High School. And then I'm going to get into a couple things that I found out about the movie and kind of set the record straight here. But I'm going to go ahead and bring in my co-host for the episode, Tim Burton. All right, welcome back to the Back in Time pod. We are now joined by the co-host for the day, Tim Burton. Tim, what's up, man?
What's going on, my man?
Ready to talk some Remember the Titans here?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, awesome. So I want to start with just some true facts about the story. So before we kind of jump into the movie version, which Hollywood tends to do, they fudge some of the details here. And these actually surprised me quite a bit. So let's see here. So first part is Boone may not be the coach that Washington portrays in the movie. In interviews, many former Titans players said they believed his coaching strategies had no correlation to their success and were indeed too harsh, causing some players to quit. So they're giving him basically no credit for them going undefeated and winning a state title because they were actually a really good team before he came on board. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, makes sense. I guess, but it's weird because one of the big storylines in the movie was that he didn't kick anybody off and didn't cut anybody.
Right.
Funny for them to say that people were quitting.
Right. The first thing the writers did was just change that little detail.
Right.
So, in the movie, Coach Boone states, "We are not like all other schools in the conference. They're all white. They don't have to worry about race. We do. This is false as well, as all the schools the Titans faced were integrated years before them, actually."
So, what's the point of the movie?
That kind of bums me out, man.
All right.
I feel like I should have saved these for the end.
Yeah.
People are going to be like, oh, now what the fuck? This is terrible. So, while the team is at camp, it shows Coach Boone waking them up at 3 a.m. to go for a run. This did not occur. Neither did his speech at Gettysburg. The team did go on a tour in Gettysburg, although it was not as dramatic as portrayed in the film.
Yeah, that makes sense. They got to make it bigger than it really is. But
yeah. So this part here, I don't even know if this is that important, but Sunshine was far from the only one that had long hair at the time. So one of the first things they do is have him cut his hair, which is kind of a funny part of the movie. But in interviews, Ronnie Bass, the real-life Sunshine, said, "I'll say for the record, my hair was never that long, and the kiss with Gary Bertier never happened." So, I'm not surprised that Hollywood threw in a gay kiss.
yeah.
Pretty much par the course for those guys, but yeah, interesting. The climax of the movie is fictionalized as 1971 3A state championship game between T.C. Williams and George Marshall High School. The dramatic license taken in the movie was to convert what was actually a mid-season matchup between T.C. Williams and Marshall into a made-for-Hollywood state championship. So, in reality, the game was the toughest game that T.C. Williams played all year. As depicted in the movie, the real-life Titans won the Marshall game on a fourth-quarter come-from-behind play at the very end. The actual state championship game was against Andrew Lewis, which they won 27-0 in a blowout.
Wow.
So this big game at the end of the movie here, spoilers, was actually like the 5th game of the year. And really didn't mean that much. Also, Bertier's car accident took place after the championship game, not before the championship game. And he had been at a banquet honoring players of the 1971 T.C. Williams Titan football team that had their undefeated season. After the banquet, Bertier borrowed his mother's 1971 Chevrolet Camaro lost control and crashed. The movie shows him getting blindsided. The cause of the accident was determined to be mechanical failure in the motor mount of the engine. The film also omits at the end of the movie that Cheryl Yost died in 1996 at the age of 34. So, and she was not an only child. She actually had 3 siblings. So I don't know why do you think they do this stuff? Like, it would not ruin the movie to know that she had 2 other siblings.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I don't understand why they would change that. I mean, I guess they're trying to make it that much more dramatic with the one daughter and how into it she was and all that. But
yeah,
I don't get that.
And also, like, at the end of the movie, it says Cheryl is still helping Coach Yost out with his football coaching, and like she's dead in real life. Like, why did you not say she was dead?
Right. And why change how the entire accident happened? Like, it makes him look like more like an asshole that he got in that accident, like the way they portrayed it in the movie, compared to it being like a malfunction.
Right, yeah, the way he gets into the accident is just him being an idiot.
Right.
But in reality, like, it was something that should never happen. I don't know if that was...
That's why I feel like that would have made it better for movie, you think? Like, more sad, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But then you got to go get the blessing from Chevy Camaro to have that in a movie that their car malfunctioned and killed this guy's chance of going pro.
Yeah,
he was an amazing athlete. So, like, let's just brush this one under the old rug. Hold on. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to jump into the review here. So, the film begins in a cemetery in Alexandria, Virginia, 1981. A voiceover from Cheryl Yost explains her parents split and she stayed with her dad, Coach, because he needed her. She says back then there was no race mixing. The school is going to be integrated. We have our first shot of some of the team here, Bertier. He tells Coach Yost that some of the guys are worried that the school's integrating may cost them their starting spot. So, right away, he hasn't met any of the guys on the team, but he's worried about losing his spot. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, just overhyping the whole race battle right off the bat. I mean, they're just setting the storyline for the whole movie, I guess. But yeah, makes sense. I mean, I guess back in that day, that was the thought. So that makes sense.
Yeah. Just then, Bosley comes running down the stairs. He's played by Ryan Gosling. I think I'll refer to him as Alan most of this here. Alan Bosley. Man, how weird is it to see a young Ryan Gosling here who's probably like 10th or 12th on the call list here? Like, he's not one of the main guys. And I don't know. What did you think of that?
Yeah, that's what's funny. Now you look back at it after all the stuff he's done since then, and it's like, oh my god, how is he such a small part in this?
Next to Denzel, I mean, he's arguably, even today, probably the biggest star out of all of them.
Oh, yeah.
Because Denzel's movies are kind of few and far between these days, and Gosling's in seemingly everything.
Right.
So
yeah, he's taken off the most by far.
Yep. So when he comes down, he's telling the guys that they're trying to burn down the hardware store. So the team runs off the field toward the hardware store. Coach Yost cuts them off in his truck and tells them to get into the back if they ever want to play football for him again. So, pretty good coach. Because had they got in trouble and destroyed some property, they're probably looking at getting arrested here.
Yep.
So, next we meet Herman Boone. He's played by Denzel Washington here. I know you're a fan of his. What's your favorite Denzel movie?
Either John Q or Bone Collector, probably.
Solid.
Which is weird because not everybody's all about the Bone Collector, but that was such a solid movie back in the day.
Man, I think one of the movies I think that maybe doesn't get talked enough about with him is He Got Game.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Love that movie.
Yeah. That's
American Gangster.
He's like the bad guy.
Yeah, American Gangster is really good too. But man, it's hard to find a bad like Denzel movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like even if it's not like a great script, and you're just like, well, how's he stopping a train with his bare hands? Like well, it's Denzel. I'm in.
Yeah.
But no, I think he's really good in this movie. So the assistant coach wants to know why Coach Boone isn't outside with all his little friends hollering. And Boone explains he has a scheduled appointment to meet with Coach Yost, and he never misses an appointment. So basically, the assistant coach is trying to stir some crap up here, and Boone's not having any part of it.
Yeah, he's putting his foot down right away, which again sets up the entire rest of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, he's kind of a don't take crap from anybody type of guy throughout the whole movie. So in the next scene here, we've got Cheryl, and she's crying and yelling at a man about her dad losing his job. The school board has decided to name Boone the head coach. She says it's going to take away his Hall of Fame. And Cheryl leaves, but stops and kicks the man in the back of the leg before she takes off. I just thought that was a funny part of the scene here, but it's interesting because he's, from all intents and purposes, he's going to be a Hall of Fame high school coach, and they just replace him.
Right.
Coming off, I think, an undefeated season the year before, or like a one-loss season.
Right, yeah, he had a really good year before, but yeah, I mean, it's just odd that they would replace him. Out of all the coaches that they could have replaced and moved Boone to a different school.
Right.
Again, sets up the dramatic part of it. I wonder if that really actually happened.
Yeah, well, yeah, as we talked about earlier on, all the other schools had already integrated, so that might have been the last choice for schools, so who knows. So Coach Boone is talking with a man in the backyard. I don't know what this guy's involvement is, if he's like a pastor or if he's like a councilman, but he's got like a shirt and tie on it. Nobody really knows who this guy is, but anyway, Boone says he's not comfortable taking Coach Yost's job. He says that he's done a fine job with the football team here and that he had lost his job in North Carolina to a white man over politics. And now you're asking him to do the same thing to Yost, and he can't do it. His wife calls him into the house, tells him to look outside, and basically the entire black community here is gathered in his front yard, and they're clapping for him that he's been named the new coach, and we meet Julius Campbell here. So it looks like he's going to go ahead and take the job now that the entire community is behind him.
I wasn't going to say no at that point.
Kind of puts him in a bad position, but I thought it was cool that he was like, he didn't want to take the job, though, from the guy.
Right.
Until he got cheered, and then he changed his mind 15 seconds later.
Yeah.
So Julius Campbell's dad says if you push him, he could be one of the best players in the country, for the county. I don't know what he said, which part, but why do you have to get pushed to be one of the best players? You can't do it yourself?
Yeah, no, right. And he said defensive end too, and there was like no big plays throughout the movie about him playing defensive end.
Other than him just being the right side, strong side guy.
Right.
So Coach Boone goes over to Coach Yost's house, and he wants him to stay on the coaching staff as the assistant, which Yost is not real excited about. So in the next scene, he's actually have a small press conference here and explains that he's decided to take a year off, and then he will be moving to take over the head coaching job at Loudon High. A man stands up and says, they won't play for no Coach Coon. Good Lord, is this racist? I mean, that's just, it's hard to even, like, say out loud.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, that's not good.
No. Bertier stands up and says he started a petition, and he's sitting out the year too, and several other players say, if you go, we go. So they're really putting Coach Yost in a bad spot here. He doesn't want to be the assistant, but they're going to kind of force him here.
Well, I don't understand is why would he not be in the Hall of Fame just because he stepped down? Like either you're a Hall of Fame coach at that point or you're not. Right. So,
I mean, pretty much almost any Hall of Fame coach that's ever coached a game in their life has probably been fired the last game of their season before they got into the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
So, I mean, you look at, what's his name from the Giants that got fired and now he's a GM?
GM now?
Yeah, for the Jaguars. God, what's his name? He's the coach forever. Yeah, Coughlin. Like, he got fired by the Giants. He's going to be a Hall of Fame coach.
Right.
But, I mean, the last job he had, he got fired from.
Yeah.
So.
And it's in this situation, he wouldn't even be fired for performance. That's why it's just funny that
right.
holding over his head that he won't be a Hall of Fame coach. But it's like, you go down from a head coach to a defensive coordinator, it's not the end of the world.
Right, exactly. So in the gym next, we meet some of the players for the new team here. Campbell says, "Didn't I tell you these white boys weren't going to play for no brother?" And Coach Boone enters. He goes right to Petey, and they have a funny exchange here that was in the trailer that we laughed about on the previous episode. And they just kind of go back and forth, and apparently football is no longer fun for Petey. So he tells them they're going to be leaving for camp. They need to wear a shirt and tie. If they don't have one, buy one. Can't afford one, borrow one from your old man. If you don't have an old man, find a drunk and trade him for his. I love this line.
Yeah, no, that's great.
He's just like, I don't care what your excuse is. I've got an answer for you. So they start doing roll call. Petey Jones introduces himself first. He's running back. Jerry Harris, nicknamed Rev, introduces himself. And then we see big old Louis Lastic come running into the line here. Big offensive lineman. He explains his family just moved here, military, and he heard football, so he came running. All the guys just stare at him. Like, what is this guy doing here?
Yeah.
Which
I
cracked me
picture
up.
that being you in that situation.
Oh, jeez.
Big white guy just running in.
Yep. One of the things at the end of the movie, spoiler, is they say, like, what happened to all the guys. Like, Louis Lastic ends up being, like, the most successful. He played 4 years at Austin Peay.
Yeah.
I don't think any other guy played D1 football, or at least for 4 years. I didn't see anything, so. They portray him in this movie as this big, like, dopey, idiot, fat guy, but in reality, he's, like, probably a stud.
Right. Talking about his white trash and he ain't going to college and all that.
Yep. So the door opens to the gym and all the white players enter here. One of the players says, with him calling the shots, none of us will see anything but the pine. And Bertier says he won't be calling the shots. And they enter with Coach Yost. They enter with Coach Yost here, if I can get that out of my mouth. And they just kind of break up this entire team meeting. So probably not a good first impression for the new assistant coach to mess up his coach's very first team meeting, which is what the next scene is here, where Boone is basically scolding him in the stairwell for interrupting the meeting. Yeah. So he hands one of the coaches the offensive playbook. They're getting ready to board the buses here. The coach says, "This thing's really skinny." Boone says, "I learned 6 plays, like splitting beers and taking Novocaine. Give it time, it always works." So I assume that means they're just going to run the option 4 different ways, and then they'll have 2 probably fake plays where they hand it off and pass.
Yeah.
So gotta love that. That's like the worst offense to play for. Freaking options.
That's the offense back in the day, though, running that beer all the time.
Oh my gosh. I seriously would have not played football if our team ran the veer.
Why? The offensive linemen love it.
Nope, I always like pass blocking. Yeah. Pass blocking and power eye. I don't like the stupid zone blocking. It's retarded. So Bertier walks up to Coach Boone and introduces himself as the only All-American on the team that he's got. Bertier says, "Here's how it's going to work. If you want any of us to play for you, you reserve half the spots on the offense and half of the spots on the defense." Boone is not going to have this at all, and he calls him out and says, "What's your name? Jerry?" "No, Gary, okay. I thought you said Jerry, and that would make him Dean Martin." And then he just embarrasses the two of them and makes this big announcement in front of the entire team. So what'd you think of Coach Boone here? Ripping on Bertier.
This is one of the best scenes for sure. This is where the Denzel comedy comes in.
Yeah. Yeah, the part where he leans in and says, "You know who your daddy is, right?"
Yeah.
And he makes him say it out loud, too. He's like, "You're my daddy."
Yeah.
It's hilarious. So before they leave for camp, he makes the buses unload and then mixes both the offense and defense and forces the team to sit with a teammate of the other color. They will also be rooming with that same teammate throughout the duration of the camp. Pretty good move.
Yeah,
in hindsight.
I just can't imagine that would fly as smoothly as it did, like in real life.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, early 70s. I mean, there's a lot of tension there.
Oh yeah,
Has to be.
especially from their parents talking to him, like how Bertier's mom is obviously against the whole situation and all that. Like I just can't imagine that would have gone over very well.
Yeah, well, it's definitely not going smoothly here because the first thing that happens when they get into the dorm room is a fight breaks out between Campbell and Bertier. Campbell was hanging up the Olympic poster with the guys putting the fist in the air. And Bertier says, take it down. I'm not staring at this crap the whole camp. So I thought that was a funny scene, even though it's probably supposed to be serious. Boone addresses the team next. He explains they're going to be perfect. You drop a pass, you run a mile. You miss a block, you run a mile. You fumble the football, he'll break off his John Brown, he'll break off his foot off in your John Brown behind, and then you'll run a mile. Who is John Brown? Because he uses this a lot in the movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that reference is, but
even his wife uses it at one point. She's like, I'll be John Brown. Because like when they come back after winning the game and like the whole like block gives them an applause.
Yeah.
That's when she says that, and I was like, who the hell is John Brown?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that reference is.
Yeah. 70s, I guess.
Yeah.
So we're in the first practice next. Petey fumbles the football. Coach Boone wants to ask him how many feet are in a mile. 5,280. And you're going to run every single one of them. And he takes off. Man, I think every coach I've ever had knew exactly how many feet were in a mile because of this movie.
Oh, absolutely.
So
yeah, that was an automatic go-to for sure. That's total coach speak right there. Every coach I've ever had, best way to piss him off is fumble the football.
Shit.
You're right there, dude.
I'm dying slowly. It'll be all good. So Coach Yost talks to Julius Campbell next and tells him if he was the head coach, he probably wouldn't be on the team because he was involved in the riots. But he likes his hustle, so he's going to pencil him in as the starting strong side defensive end. So I guess they do refer to him as a defensive end here.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that Coach Yost knew that he was involved in the riots, and he wasn't real happy with Campbell about that. But if you remember, as we talked about, he kind of cuts off his players from going and joining in that.
Right.
So,
yeah, I'm curious how he'd know that he was involved in that, but
yep,
wouldn't make him happy, that's for sure.
I love this next scene here. Bertier's on the phone with his girlfriend, and she makes him say, "I love you, sugar," and all the guys in the background just start cracking up.
Yeah.
Like, I love you, sugar. It's just hilarious.
Yeah, that's as good as it gets right there.
But yeah, that's what you get for baby talking with
Yeah.
your girl. So back in practice here, the offense runs for a touchdown. Bertier calls out Campbell for being selfish and tells him he needs to do his job, and they start fighting again. So Bertier and Campbell clearly not on the same page still.
No. They're both basically the leaders of each color at this point, and that's what they're setting it up as.
Yep. Very true. Good point. So Lastic sits down next to Campbell at the lunch table. Campbell wants to know what he's doing. Why don't you go sit with your people? And he points over to the white teammates. Rev comes to his defense, though, and says he's just a light-skinned brother. And Campbell says, well, then he's a dark-skinned cracker. So I love the back and forth here. Yeah. Over at the coach's table, Yost recommends some trick plays to Boone. But he says not to worry about the offense and just worry about the defense, and basically turns him down. So that's going to be a little soul-crushing for a guy that's going to be a Hall of Fame coach to say, hey, I've got these plays. I think these will be really good. And then he just basically is like, piss off.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the offense.
Well, I think Boone knows his players at this point and knows they're not the smartest people in the world, and he just wants to run the same plays, keep it simple.
Veer right, veer left.
Right.
22 John Brown reverse.
Figure out how to pitch the ball. I mean, come on.
So Boone gets up and he calls Lastic over and makes him stand up in front of the team. he wants Lastic to tell him something about one of his black teammates. He says, "I'm rooming with Blue, sir. I noticed he wears leopard spotted underwear, bikini style, sir." I love that he knows so much about his teammates here because he also goes off on Rev and he's like, "He's very spiritual, sir. Probably going to be a pastor. Very smart. I ain't smart, though. I'm a real dumbass." In one word or another. But, Boone comes in and, like, whispers in his ear that if you don't go to college, it won't be because you're not qualified. So, I thought that was a cool scene. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, that's what's funny about the fact that he was the most successful one out of all when it comes to education after this.
Yeah. Yep. Very true. Boone also calls on Campbell and Bertier to share something, but they don't say anything. They just kind of sit there and stare off. So he tells the team they're going to spend time every day with a teammate of the different race until you meet every single teammate. And until that happens, they move to 3-a-days. Good God, I can't even imagine 3-a-days.
Yeah, you had 2-a-days in high school, I bet.
2-a-days in high school. My first practice in high school, my sophomore year. So it had been the first time with like the varsity team.
Right.
I had to get taken home in the back of the truck because my legs were so cramped I couldn't even get into the car. So I spent, after that, literally, my mom and dad had to help me. They put me in the pool, and I sat there drinking Gatorade and eating saltine crackers for 2 hours before I could get out of the pool.
Yeah.
That's how brutal it was.
That's why I love when people cry about it being too hot or practice is so tough for 2 hours. Like, come on.
Yeah. I don't know how I got through the next couple days.
Yeah.
Like, I remember my legs being so sore from cramping that, like, I couldn't even, like, get down in my stance.
Yeah.
So, brutal.
You were starting on varsity at that point or no?
No, just JV.
Oh, okay.
I actually had a coach tell me at the end of my sophomore year, he told my offensive line coach that I would never start a game for him and that he thought I was just terrible. And I was like an asshole, too. So, but then I got dedicated in the weight room and started the next 2 years.
There you go.
So, and then played college so he can stick it up his butt. Shout out to you, Coach Pazia. Bosley is showing Blue some of his music in the next scene here. Blue looks like his head's going to explode because Alan is making him listen to all this country music. I thought that was hilarious. He's just like, "How about this one?"
Dancing.
Does the word cruel and unusual punishment mean anything to you? So, Boone is in the next scene here. He's making the team do up-downs until they puke. I hate up-downs.
Yeah, I remember those too.
Yeah. Yost tells him that he's walking a fine line here between tough and crazy, and that's when he blows the whistle and a couple of guys start puking. So they go over to get some water, but another fight breaks out between Bertier and Campbell again. So, resident fighting guys here, ruining the practice. So, Bertier stops Campbell on the way to the locker room after practice. They have some arguing back and forth here. But the first time, it kind of seems like they might be getting on the same page. But it ends with Campbell saying he's going to worry about himself and get his. Bertier says that's the worst attitude he's ever heard. And Campbell says attitude reflects leadership. And Bertier's like, oh, shit. Well, I'm the leader, so that's on him.
Yeah, there's the turning point in the movie right there.
Yep. So we got the next scene here. Coach Boone makes the team go for a run at 3 a.m. As we found out beforehand, this did not happen, but looks good in the movie. They run until the sun comes up. They stop in a cemetery. Boone says, "Do you know what this place is? This is where we fought the Battle of Gettysburg." And he gives a touching speech here. Boone may be a little crazy, but in today's world, you can never coach like this. But what do you think of this scene here where he addresses the team?
Yeah, no, it was fine. That's, like I said, it's kind of like the turning point, this part of the movie right here. And I think that woke some people up. But yeah, this coaching philosophy cracks me up because so many of these things have a lawsuit on your hands in 5 minutes.
Like, yeah, you get a lawsuit if you didn't give your team a break every 10 minutes for water these
Right,
days.
exactly.
And you can only practice for exactly 120 minutes and not a minute longer.
Right.
So, and you can only have pads on for like 2 practices a week now.
Right. We wonder why people are getting hurt left and right in the NFL.
Yeah, can't figure it out. What's going on? Yeah. So in this next scene, it's completely pitch black, and they just have a couple lights on, and the team's still practicing. Boone says, all right, we'll be here all night until we get this right. Ray, who's the tight end, number 87, completely blows a block here that gets Petey blown up. Bertier rips him and tells him if he misses another block like that, he'll hit him so hard that when he comes to, ooh, boy, you need a new haircut. That line's awesome, man. I wish I would.
There's some really good one-liners in this movie, for sure.
That's such a good one. Like, he's going to hit him so hard that he'll wake up in a month with long hair. That's good. Campbell makes a tackle on the next play, and Bertier comes over to celebrate with him, and they start the whole left side, strong side thing. So they finally start bonding, and what do you know it? Coach Boone blows the whistle and ends practice. So just waiting for them to come together as a team.
Yeah.
So, any thoughts on this scene?
Yeah, I mean, it's just finally getting it. So that they realize that if they start working together, things will be a lot easier.
Definitely. So we're going to meet Sunshine next. He gets out of the car. He's got some long hair down past his shoulders. The team's in the middle of practice, and they're probably about a week into camp here. Bertier yells over, hey, guys, look at that fruitcake. And Sunshine's dad introduces himself, and his son is Ronnie Bass. He's a quarterback. He runs the ball really well. Boone says we're all set at the quarterback position and recommends a couple other schools. Colonel Bass says he met the coaches at the other schools, and they won't let blacks play on their team. So that's why he came to this one, also fictional. Yes, they definitely did. Sunshine picks up a football and fires it about 40 yards and hits Bertier right in the back. And Campbell starts laughing and says, fruitcake, huh? So Yost and Boone just look at each other, and then Yost says, I think we can find a spot for him. Under one condition, and then the next scene here is Sunshine with short hair. So he's looking at the mirror. Petey's right behind him smiling, calling him Sunshine. And he turns around and smiles and says, Sunshine, I can dig that. And that gets all the guys excited, and they just like start, yeah, brother. And all the players like that. So he goes, we have some team ribbing here. And I always love this stuff because, what's his name, Blue, starts ripping on Bertier's mama. And Bertier starts to get offended, but Campbell grabs him and then insults Blue. And then Bertier starts to understand this is a joke, and he starts to smile. And then Lastic walks in limping, holding his back, and says, Petey goes, what's wrong, man? He goes, man, I just gave your mom a piggyback ride, and she weighs twice as much as I do.
That's probably the funniest line in the movie right there.
Yep. So and then they turn up the music and start singing Ain't No Mountain High. So Bertier and Sunshine have a little, what would you call this? A little spat in the locker room. And Sunshine kind of bats his eyes at him and then plants one on him. And then proceeds to kick his ass, too. Because Bertier tries to go after him. Yeah, I love the part at the end where Campbell's like, what happened, man? He's like, he kissed me. He's just like, what?
They're all like, what the fuck?
He kissed you and kicked your ass?
Right.
So we're in the next scene here. They got Sunshine at QB. He misses the pitch on the option, and Coach Boone explains to him, you know, you can throw it a mile, but you can't pitch it 3 yards. And he puts in old Rev to run the offense. So even though Rev doesn't have much of an arm from the looks of it, he's going to be the starting quarterback. So this always kind of reminded me of like Rex Grossman. Like when he was the Bears quarterback, like he could throw it a mile, but like don't ask him to throw like a 5-yard out pass.
Kind of like Cutler.
That's going in the dirt. Yeah, Cutler too. Jeez.
Any Bears quarterback?
There's a lot of quarterbacks that can't throw a 5-yard pass. And then you got guys like Kyle Orton that could only throw 5-yard passes and couldn't throw a deep ball to save their life. So we're in the lunchroom next. Ray tries to sit next to Bertier, who is sitting next to Campbell, and he tells Ray this table is defense only, and kind of kicks Ray out of the way. At the offensive table, Petey wants to know if Sunshine was just messing with Bertier or if he's gay. And Sunshine wants to know why it matters. So he's from California. You know what I mean? So at the coach's table, little Cheryl tells Coach Boone he's doing a fine job. And he runs a tough camp. And he says he appreciates the opinion of a 5-year-old. And she corrects him and says she's 9.5. And Boone wants to know why she doesn't just get some dolls to play with. And Yost said he tried. She loves football.
I hope thing right there and a daughter.
That would be like a dream for any guy that's having a kid.
Right.
Like your daughter doesn't like dolls and just wants to watch game film with you.
Yeah.
So at practice, they wrap up. Bertier and Campbell kind of rile the team up and get them excited about heading back to school. They're on the bus. This time, they're all singing, and it's a much different tune than how they left for camp originally. Any thoughts on this scene here?
Yeah, I love that line with the dad at the end there. Asking if they're brainwashed. Again, that's the problem. Is it's such parent influence on the whole situation. Like you take them away from their parents for days or whatever it was, and all of a sudden they're good to go, and they come back and it's terrible all over again.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a lot's changed at the school, but the community is still very much fighting. Bertier's girlfriend says, "Look at them, they hate us," and she obviously points to black people. Yeah. Campbell walks up to Bertier, and Gary tries to introduce him to his girlfriend, but she refuses to shake his hand and walks away. And Campbell says, "We back in the real world now, Bertier." So, don't know how that's going to play out, but we'll see. Boone is out on the football field next, and he's informed that if they lose one game, they're going to fire him and turn the team back over to Yost. Dude, I can't even imagine how much pressure that would put on a coach. Like, you lose once, you're done. Like, no wonder he pukes at the beginning of the first game.
Right, yeah. Well, that's what like the college and NFL is turning into now. Like you lose like 3 or 4 games, you're gone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I always feel like, for example, let's take the Cleveland Browns. Like, had they just stuck with one coach for like 5 or 6 years, like, could they have turned it around by now?
Yeah, probably.
At one point, they had Bill Belichick, and they did.
Yeah, you can't turn a team like that around in 2 years.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So, Boone addresses the team next before the first game. He tells the team that Greek mythology, the Titans were rulers, and on the football field tonight, they will rule. I thought it was a cool speech that he gave. The game starts. Allen's getting toasted like a piece of bread here, and Bertier tells him to stick his man, but he says he can't. He's too fast. So he gets beat again on the next play. They score. The Titans are down 7-0. On offense, they go 3 and out. Petey misses a block, and and Boone pulls him out of the game for it. Yost goes over to Petey and tells him he wants him to play linebacker, and all he has to do is cover number 22. So this might be my favorite scene in the movie, just because I've literally been quoting this for like 17 years now, where the dad stands up in the stands. Like, I'll randomly just do this, like with my buddy Justin. I'll just be like, "Yost! Yost!" And it cracks him up every time. And, "Don't you take out my boy, Yost!" It's just hilarious. And then the little girl stands up. She's like, "He's getting beat like he stole something, Mr. Bosling."
Got some one-liners here, too.
Yep. So anyway, Petey gets into the game here. And the first thing he does is make a defensive stop right away. And then makes another play and causes a fumble in the next play. And they return it for a touchdown, and they win the game. So Petey basically goes from sitting on the pine to being the hero of the game. And
I wonder how much of the actual game stuff is true. Like, did that happen? Like, did Petey literally get pulled and put on defense?
That's a good question. It seems like they fudged a lot of this stuff here, so I'm guessing no.
Right, I guess no, too. I mean, that'd be pretty dramatic to all of a sudden go from being terrible on offense to being a star on defense.
My guess would be at some point during the season, like, Allen really lost his job, and they probably played Petey both ways.
Right.
But it wasn't like he got beat and his dad was like, Yost! Come in! So, in this next scene, they're celebrating. Gary's girlfriend tries to get him to go with her and a few friends. Ray's part of the car as well. But he walks away from them and goes back to hang out with the team. So I guess that's probably the end of Bertier's girlfriend. No more sugar.
No more all that making fun of for no reason.
Yep. Sunshine convinces Blue and Petey to go with him into the bar. They don't want to go, but he says, that's history, man. People are accepting you now. So they go into the bar, and of course the owner refuses to serve them. And Blue and Petey are pissed off at Sunshine, and they end up kind of breaking up the team. And some players go the one way, and then all the other guys are just standing there like, thanks, asshole. You just ruined the whole night.
That's the California mindset.
Right.
They all think everything's supposed to be rosy and everything's great. no issues in the world.
Yep. We got Yost and is sitting in the office next, and Mr. Bosley comes in. He's still mad about the playing time where they took Allen out, and he points his finger at Boone and says, this is your fault, you black, and then Yost cuts him off. I kind of want to know what he was going to say.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't have been good.
No. Probably, if this wasn't a Disney movie, he probably would have actually said it, too. So, in the next scene, Bertier and his mom are arguing about him going to play basketball with Julius down at the Berg. And she doesn't want him to go. And the team is broken. We go right into the next game here. Campbell and Bertier are kind of back at it. He wants to know where Bertier's at. And he's kind of zoning out, and Bertier tells him, don't talk to me. So, obviously, his mom kind of changed his opinion on things, but what'd you think of that scene?
Yeah, that's where the whole parent influence comes into play. But what's funny to me is, like, when I was in high school, like, my mom wasn't telling me where I couldn't go, like, in the middle of the day.
Yeah, I just recently told my mom, like, all the stuff I used to do, and she's just like, what? She's like, you were high in our basement? I'm like, yeah.
I think his mom was telling him where to go and stuff.
I know. Yeah, I was never home. They're just like, are you going to be home for dinner? Nope. See you guys at about 1 a.m.
Especially when you're the tough guy on the football team. That ain't happening.
No, not at all. So, too much stuff to do.
Yeah.
Now, they win the game, but Rev says on the sideline, if they play like this next game, they're going to get their butt beat. Boone stops by Yost's house to drop off a game plan for next week. Yost is really impressed with the information and says this breaks down all their tendencies, how they run each play. It's going to be really tough for them defensively, so they're going to be a good team this next game. Boone also said he brought by his daughter because she was asking about Cheryl, and he says you can bring her by the house anytime. We'd be happy to have her. So kind of a nice moment here between the two coaches.
Yeah, they're finally starting to come together.
Yep. So we got Sunshine next. He's doing some yoga, I would assume. Is that? I mean, was yoga a thing in the 70s or?
Apparently, California thing.
Tai Chi? I don't know what he's doing. A bunch of girls are watching from the window, and Petey tells the girls, I don't know why you guys are watching old Sunshine. He's from California. You know what I mean? And then a couple white guys get into his face. Another fight breaks out. But Campbell and Bertier this time break up the entire fight, and they're back on the same page again. So, man, this Campbell and Bertier thing back and forth is wearing me out here.
Yeah, that's the dramatic. I like it.
Yep. Yost and the assistant coach are eating at a diner next. He says Cheryl's over at Coach Boone's. The assistant says at some point you're going to have to pick sides. So this assistant coach that he basically told Boone, you don't get me without him.
Yeah.
Still kind of a dick.
Yeah, definitely a dick at this point. That's a dick move.
Yep. So we're at the Boone house. I kind of thought that she would be playing with the little daughter, but she's actually sitting there watching game film with Coach Boone breaking down plays. And I think actually at some point either the mom or he might say, like, wouldn't you rather be over there doing something? And she's just like, nope, I'm good. And all of a sudden we hear somebody yell, hey, Coach Coon! And they throw a giant rock through his front window. Obviously, I've never dealt with that type of racism because I'm white. But, I mean, could you imagine somebody just being like, hey, cracker, just throwing a brick through your front door?
Yeah, see, that's what's crazy is the reality of it. That's
Yeah, it sucks.
so crazy back then.
Yep. So the team calls a meeting, but it's without the coaches. Blue gives the team a speech and says they need to come together, and the coaches aren't always going to be here for us. The world tells us we should be one way and that we have to listen to it. Lastic starts singing. And then Campbell and Bertier rally the team, and they're all back on the same page again. All is well in the world of the Titans.
Yeah, it's just funny how quickly it turns.
It's like, man, we ain't nothing. And Lastic's like, we got soul, baby. Just like, what is going on here?
Right, now all of a sudden they're great.
Right. Yeah, we're all set. We're all set for this next game. We sang about it.
Yeah.
So, Boone and Yost talk to the press next. Boone tells the press they will not be intimidated or back down. Yost is mad at him for antagonizing the press and says when it involves his daughter, they have an issue. So he's mad about the brick being thrown at the house and thought it was endangering his daughter.
Yeah, I mean, I see both sides of this one. I mean, obviously I'd be pissed off if I felt like my daughter was being endangered. But at the same time, he needs to wake up and realize that that's the world that the black people have to live in at that point. It
Right.
sucks.
The team tells Coach Boone they want to warm up a little different today, and they come out to a We Are the Titans song and dance. The opposing coach says, who do they think they are, the Beatles? So obviously the Beatles are the massive band in the 70s.
Yeah.
But what do you think of this? Did you ever see any teams do like goofy dances and warm-ups like this? I never did.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them do like chants and like different, not necessarily dances and like full-on choreographed singing and all that. But
Right.
that would seem like weird. Like Hawaii always does that too. They do like that whole weird thing. College Hawaii.
I feel like if you ask somebody from the actual Titans team, they'd be like, hell no, we didn't do a choreographed dance. No,
this is the Disney part coming out
Right.
real hard.
Like all we did was huddle at the 50-yard line, and we did 1, 2, 3, go team.
Right. Or 1, 2, 3, we are the Titans.
Right.
That's it.
So funny. The game starts. Ray misses a block here, and Rev gets crushed and hurt. The doctor says he broke a bone in his hand, and he won't be thrown anymore this year. Sunshine immediately goes to Coach Boone and says, can't make the pitch. So Boone tells him a story about how he lost both his parents in the same month growing up, and he had to take care of all of his 12 brothers and sisters. And somehow that's going to motivate Sunshine to go out there. I love the part, I didn't put this in the notes, but one of the assistant coaches like, 12 brothers and sisters?
Right.
He's like, 8. Yeah, 12 was better.
Yeah, I love that fabrication too. Yeah.
Even 8, I would have been like, damn.
Right. This is the quickest turnaround. Like that. This is also part of Disney, which I laugh at. It's like he went from not being able to make a pitch to 2 seconds later, all of a sudden he was confident enough to flip a defensive lineman.
Right. Well, he didn't pitch it, so
Right.
he threw the ball and then just levels this guy, which is hilarious. Coach Boone just smiles and laughs too. Like,
Right.
I know you just threw an incomplete pass, but you hurt the guy. So cool. So apparently they go on to win the game. We don't really see much of the game here, but in the locker room, Coach Boone gives the game ball to Sunshine, who then gives it to the real hero and hands the ball to Rev. So kind of a cool moment here by Sunshine. The team starts cheering on Rev, and then Lastic grabs his hand and raises it up. It's his bad shoulder that just got hurt. And he's just like, God.
That's the dumbass fat white guy.
Yeah, like, such a stereotype. Like, let's just put this buffoon into the movie and have him do all the most moronic things we can think of.
Yeah.
Like leading the team in song, lifting up an injured guy's hands, talking about how he can't get a C+ average. I bet the real guy, the real Elastic's like, what the hell is this?
Right. He's probably like a straight A, perfect, like Ivy League type white kid.
It's like the finding out The Blind Side, where they're like, he was like, I was like an All-American before I started playing for that school in like 3 sports.
Yeah.
And then the movie's just him, like, just can't even block anybody.
Right.
You just,
Never played a game.
I was a beast. I buried everybody. So, in this next scene here, we've got Ray, and he's still super racist. He can't seem to change his attitude. Campbell goes to visit Bertier. He goes to meet his mom and gives her a giant hug and lifts her off the ground. So, I guess that's one way to make somebody love you. Just go in and hug the crap out of her. So she's just like, well,
at that point.
I can't be mad at this guy. He's just too nice.
Oh, yeah.
One of the parts I thought was funny, though, is when he's getting ready to cross the street to get to Bertier's house, the police officer pulls up, and he's just like, oh shit. And he rolls down the window, and he's just like, hell of a defense. Keep it up. He's just like, oh, thanks, officer. Oh,
The same stuff that's going on now.
Yeah, literally, yeah. There's a montage next of the team, just a bunch of bonding stuff, and they're like recording stuff on old cameras. I love the part here where Elastic rips the door off and just throws it, and then they just start beating up the car with a sledgehammer. I always thought that would be fun because those are like pep rally things, but like when I got in high school, like I don't know if somebody in our school like destroyed like public property or something, but we never had a pep rally in my 4 years.
Really?
No. So I have no idea like what being a part of a pep rally is. Because we didn't have it in college and we didn't have it in high school.
Yeah, I mean, ours weren't crazy like that. Ours were just more corny, just announcing everybody in the gym and all that stuff.
So they would just bring you out and like announce like all the players?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's usually like the varsity players announce everybody and do some chant or something stupid like that, and all the cheerleaders would cheer, and I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds really cool to me. Way better than me just walking around in my jersey before game day.
Every Friday,
yeah. So lame. Anyway, hold on. This is not correct because I wrote they emailed the opposing team's coach. Clearly, they're not emailing anybody in the 70s here.
No.
So what do you think they do here? Because I have no idea what I'm writing about. Okay, so what they're doing is
when they asked the coach if he was going to send film.
There you go.
Exchange film.
Yep, and then the press wants to know if they're going to exchange handshakes, and he says, "With Coach Boone, I'm not going to do anything to help that monkey."
Right. That was actually wasn't handshakes. It was they're going to exchange film.
Oh, okay. Yep.
To do film study, and he's like, "I ain't doing anything to help him."
Yeah, what a dick. In the regional championship game next, the officials are screwing the Titans. Coach Yost has had enough. He goes over to the official and threatens him. He says he knows what they're trying to do, and he'll take them all down with him. He doesn't care if he loses the Hall of Fame over it. And he goes to his team and says, I don't want them to gain another yard. Blitz on every play. If they gain one more yard, I'm taking every last one of you out. Make sure they remember the night they played the Titans. I mean, this speech got me fired up.
Oh, yeah.
And like the next play, Bertier just goes over the sidelines and points right at the coach. Doesn't say a word.
Yeah.
That coach was like, oh, shit.
I love how the Hall of Fame gets less and less important as the movie goes on.
And he's just like, the Hall of Fame's not going to happen. Whatever. So at the end of the game, the coaches meet to embrace. The coach won't shake Boone's hand. So he turns and tosses him a banana, which is basically like mic drop.
Yeah, that was one of the best scenes.
Yep.
Awesome.
So Bertier wants Julius to come with him for a drive to celebrate. He tells him he's got to hang with his girl tonight if he knows what he means. So it looks like Campbell's looking to beak here.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So we like to say beaking on this show for some reason.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Beak wet? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think that started in the Mighty Ducks episode. We're like, Bombay's looking to beak.
That he did.
So Coach Yost has to console his daughter next over the Hall of Fame. She's so upset because they came to him after a game and said, "You just blew it. We took a straw vote." Who straw votes? The hillbillies. She's super bitter about losing out on the Hall of Fame, but I think it's awesome. I mean, she just loves football, which is cool. Bertier goes for a drive in the next scene. This is a really sad part of the movie here. But I mean, it's just, he kind of gets to the stop sign and then sees one of his friends. He's like, "Yeah, let's win, Titans!" And he just floors it and gets blindsided. And yeah,
that's why I can't understand why they made the scene like that. Like, it's such a weird scene that like he just gunned it to be cool and all of a sudden got smashed. Like,
yeah, it kind of feels like a little after school special because the real story is way more powerful than this.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Like, he wasn't being reckless. Like, he was literally just driving and had a malfunction.
Right. Yeah, if anything, they should have just taken out the Camaro out of it and just said, whatever, a normal car.
Yeah, made it like a Toyota. Stick it to him. So, I mean, this is it's a tough scene to watch here. Julius goes into the hospital, and Coach tells him that Bertier is paralyzed from the waist down. He goes over to Bertier's mom and hugs her and apologizes for not being there. And then he goes in and sees Bertier. And Bertier's not having any of it, though. He's like, if you would have been with me, you'd be right in the next bed. So and then Julius says, when we get old, we're going to live on the same neighborhood, and there isn't going to be all this black and white between them. So it's a cool scene, but sucks that Bertier's never going to walk again.
Did they ever figure out, or did they say how Gary actually died?
Yeah, he got in another car accident.
Did they say it in the movie, or that?
At the end of the movie, like, it says he died 10 years later in another car accident.
Oh, yeah, I knew he died 10 years later. He just did not have good luck with cars, huh?
I bet when the car is approaching, he's like, "You got to be kidding me! Come on!" What the hell? Like, I'm seriously about ready to die in this car after I've already been paralyzed by another one.
Right.
Well, I guess in real life.
How's he even driving?
No kidding. So Yost and Boone get in an argument next over Coach Boone wanting to continue on with the season like nothing ever happened. So Yost kind of gives it to him a little bit here, and then Boone goes home that night and is kind of like second guessing himself, and his wife has to be like, "Hey, it's going to be okay." Everybody's hurt over Bertier. So the team goes to visit Bertier in the hospital, and he tells Coach Yost he's not dead, and he's just hurt, and he still wants to talk football. And he tells Coach Yost he's been reading up about activities for the handicap, and they have Olympics. So he's excited about that. And he actually does go on to win a gold medal in the Olympics. So
yeah, pretty awesome.
For shot putting. So that's kind of cool. Lastic embraces Coach Boone in the locker room next. He has a C+ average. He's going to college. I don't know why this reminded me of like Tommy Boy.
Right.
Like, I got a D-. Holy shit, I'm going to graduate. And then the next thing he's like, they give out a lot less D- than they do D+. It's not a grade they like to give. I'll tell you that. A lot of guys go to school for 7 years, called doctors. So Bertier's mom enters the stadium in this next scene here. She gets a standing ovation. Gary's watching from his hospital bed as his mom gets cheered on. The game starts. Marshall marches right down the field here in what looks like some type of like West Coast offense. And at one point, I think somebody even, it might be Coach Yost, is like, who do they think they are? The San Francisco 49ers?
Yeah.
It's like they're throwing the ball all over the field. They're running like 4 or 5 wideouts. Allen's back in the starting lineup here, and he's getting toasted again for another touchdown. Poor Allen. We get the halftime. Coach Boone tells them they're giving it all they got. Everyone can see that. He's kind of like, if you win or lose, it's not a big deal. And then Campbell stands up. He's like, nah, bullshit. Like, you told us we have to be perfect. We're going to be perfect. And he gives a pretty cool speech. And then Yost also says he's learned a lot this year, and now he wants help because Ed Henry's kicking his ass. So
it was 7-0 at that point.
I know. This game, we're just getting it handed to us. Well, what's the score?
Killed and they can't stop them.
Well, we're down 1. Yeah. So the second half starts up. First thing that happens is Alan gives up his position to Petey and just says he doesn't want to play anymore, basically, because he's getting beat so bad. Or as the little girl would say, he's getting beat like he stole something.
Yeah.
They start making a comeback here. They get a field goal. Sunshine's now playing defense. He intercepts a pass, and they get the score down to 7-3 going into the fourth quarter. We have some back and forth, just like a lot of hitting and stuff. We're down to 1:22 left in the game. The announcers say all they have to do here for Marshall is just hold them off. So Marshall breaks a long run here, and Julius Campbell comes from behind with a strip fumble. The only thing I didn't like about this scene, like, did you notice how Campbell was running?
Yeah.
He looked
Super
like
weird.
such a dork running. He was just like,
Yeah. He did not do a good job of that.
not at all. It was probably like take 45, and he's just like, nope. I'm
He's
gonna
not an athlete.
I'm
in real
gonna
life.
walk, and I'm gonna move my arms like I'm running.
Right.
I'm done with this. So anyway, he gets that strip fumble, and they take the field for one final play before the time expires here. And finally, Coach Boone's going to put a little razzle-dazzle in his offense here, and he calls some type of reverse, but he calls it like a back George. I didn't understand his terminology here, and I should understand it, being that it was 1970. I don't know what he was talking about here. But anyway, they put Rev back in the game, who we haven't seen in several games because he was hurt. And the opposing coach says, I thought he was injured. So they had a wide receiver go in motion. They hand it off to him. Rev comes around on the reverse. Sunshine leads the way, and he takes it to the house for the win. And the Titans go on to win their state championship here. So it would be 9-7 because they probably didn't kick the field goal.
Right.
The extra point. So Boone and Yost embrace. Yost tells him he was the right man for the job, and Boone says, "You're Hall of Fame in my book." They're still going at this Hall of Fame thing. They won't let it go.
Right.
So they did go on to become state champs. Bertier went on to win an Olympic gold medal. They just show some writing on the screen. It says Bertier died 10 years later in a car crash. The movie ends with the team singing "Na na na na, hey hey goodbye" at his gravesite. I was a little confused. Totally not appropriate here that they would be singing "Na na na na, hey 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 goodbye" with his mom standing at his gravesite.
Right. Yeah, we chant that after Miami games when we beat a team.
Right. Not when somebody dies.
No.
Just terrible. The last notes, it said that Coach Boone went on to coach 5 more years for T.C. Williams, and 4 of those, Coach Yost was his assistant before they both retired. Yost retired first, and Boone retired second, and Yost made it to the Hall of Fame. And then it said his daughter is still active and still helps him coach to this day, but she's really dead in real life. So I don't know why they made up that last part. But what do you think of the movie? The end of the movie here. Kind of final thoughts for you.
Yeah, I mean, so this is where sports movies always bother me because it's just so fabricated and so fake. Like being an actual football guy.
Yeah.
First of all, why were they still running the ball and not taking the knee with a minute 20 seconds left?
Right.
And then strip fumble or a fumble, and then 75 yards they run a reverse as if the team wasn't expecting you to run a reverse at that point.
They brought in this guy off the bench. I wonder if they're going to do something with him.
Right.
Yeah.
Guy has a broken wrist, but all of a sudden can run for 75 yards and no big deal. So that's the type of stuff where I hate fake shit in movies like that. But
so let's take the part out where we know everything's not real in this movie. Right. As just a person that watched the movie, what do you think?
It's phenomenal. I mean, one of the better Denzel movies for sure. Some good acting overall. And the thing I like about it is just there's so many good one-liners overall. Throughout the movie by different characters too. It's not just dominant by one character really. Even Denzel's not, I mean, he's obviously the main character, but it's not just him.
Right.
So many different one-liners and different storylines going on, which obviously made the movie really good.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of my favorite movies. You know, it's got everything a good movie should have. Like, it's got some drama, it's got conflict, it's got resolution, and then it's got a happy ending.
Right.
So, which is basically like every Disney movie of all time. Like Mighty Ducks, conflict, resolution, victory.
Yeah.
Like Miracle on Ice, same thing.
Yeah.
We Are Marshall, same thing.
Yeah.
Like it's the same movie over and over again, but it works. It's a good one. You know, I think next week we'll be back. We're gonna do some type of horror movie. So I'll have another guest host with me next week, breaking down some new topics. I think we're looking at doing either Scream, disturbing behavior, urban legends, or idle hands. So we'll probably post a poll topic up on Twitter. You can go on there and vote. This is the last day, so if you're getting this tomorrow morning, the poll will be over for Arnold Schwarzenegger month. And it looks like we're going to be doing Kindergarten Cop.
Yeah.
Can't wait. Totally bummed that Last Action Hero didn't win.
Oh,
But
awesome.
yeah, it looks like we'll be doing Kindergarten Cop. So that's coming down the pipeline. Tim, thanks for joining me, man.
You're welcome. I appreciate having me.
Yep, is enjoyed it, and we'll be back next week, and I'll be back in a second to close out the show. All right, thank you so much for listening to the episode here. Such a good time reviewing Remember the Titans. Sometimes I forget how good of a movie this really is to watch, and got a really good feel-good story at the end. We will be back next week. Again, we're going to be jumping into something on the horror movie side. I think we're going to do 90s slasher films. I don't know that we'll do a poll topic, but the poll topic did end for Arnold Schwarzenegger week. Thank you for everybody that voted. And moving forward, if you ever want to participate in the vote, you can go to Back in Time Pod on Twitter, and you can help pick the episode that we're going to review. So in December, this will be the first or second week. It looks like we're going to be doing Kindergarten Cop. And that's a movie I've not seen probably in close to 20 years. So that'll be fun to jump back into that and relive that movie a little bit. I would also, just another shout out here. You know, my co-host Justin wasn't able to make it, but again, a big thanks to Tim for jumping in kind of short notice and taking the time out of his day to watch the movie and give us his thoughts. Really appreciate him, and hopefully we'll have him back at some point to talk about some other movies. And I think next week we'll be joined again by another co-host, and then JD will be back at the beginning of December, second week, and we'll be doing some Kindergarten Cop. But for myself, I'm going to go ahead and close it out. Again, thank you for joining us and hitting the download button on the episode. Remember, we're on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Everything's Back in Time Pod or Back in Time Podcast. All full episodes are up on YouTube as well. So if you're listening on YouTube, thank you for that. And hit the subscribe button there, as well as hitting the subscribe button on iTunes so you never miss an episode. But for myself, we're going to jump into DeLorean, punch in November 29, 2017, and we're going to return back to present day. Have a great week, and thanks for listening. Take it away, Doc.
It means your future hasn't been written yet. No one's has. Your future is whatever you make it. So make it a good one. Both of you.